Keith, just a few minutes ago, I was preparing a marketing campaign to share with some people in a specific industry, and I was telling the story about someone who I actually helped several months ago. I come from the newspaper industry, which has been a struggling industry for a very long period of time, and I decided to reach out to other newspaper executives who have been living with the pain of this industry for years, sometimes even decades. So I launched a campaign to connect with them and talk with them about business ownership, and last October, I connected with a newspaper publisher who shared with me a story that I'd heard over and over again. That he said, I've been in this industry for 30 years. I know it's time to get out, but it's the only thing I've ever done. I don't know what else I would do, but I know I have to figure out something else to do. So we began this whole journey of exploring franchise opportunities, and finally he settled on one, a landscape lighting concept. And he went all the way through the process. He was awarded his franchise, and I'll never forget, it was one day in early January, I got an email from him and he said, I just tendered my resignation before I head off to training for my new franchise. And we had a celebration moment there about his resignation. And I had found out that he went through training. He finished up his training, I think it was on a Friday. The very next day, he was back home at a big home show in his community, already promoting his business, generating leads. And then just a couple weeks ago, I saw that it was his birthday, and I sent him a birthday greeting. Said, hey, happy birthday, Steve. How are things going? And within a couple of minutes, he emailed me back and he said, better than I ever could have imagined. I've been in business for 3 months. I'm already right close to the $100,000 revenue mark. And my first employee just started last week. God is good, is how he wrapped up the message.
Bill, sometimes people get locked into something, and even though it's not going well, or even, in this case, he's in a dying industry and he's probably fearing for his job. And when is the axe going to fall on me? And yet fear kind of holds people in place. And that's one of the things we really have to deal with, is kind of helping people kind of assess that fear and then to overcome it. Because you can show them a better path. They need to have something to go towards. Running away from his life is not really the answer. You have to give them a specific path and something to look forward to help them overcome that fear and make that leap. And I'm so glad your candidate was so successful. I just got an email from one of our franchisors that reminded me of a great story. So when I was a recruiter, I was working with a candidate who I never placed, but she was an executive in the wine and spirits industry. And she reached out to me when she basically lost her job in the wine and spirits industry and had seen on LinkedIn that I was doing this, and she had been interested in business ownership. She not only lost her job, but she had a new baby at the same time. And she just, didn't want to kind of end her maternity leave and look for another corporate job. She wanted to do something on her own. And she was a terrific, really, really diligent candidate, maybe one of the most thorough that I've worked with. And I think we took her through 6 different franchise concepts. And there were a couple that she really went all the way right to the end before making a decision on. And she finally settled on one, which was actually a mobile floor covering showroom. And she started in September of last year. And, I hadn't heard from her, and I checked in at the beginning of the year to see how things were going. And she was struggling. And I was sort of shocked because she was such a good candidate, smart, bright, and there's a learning curve there. She'd always excel at everything she did, but she kind of was on a certain career path, and now kind of unshackled from that and running her own show, she was a little bit lost. And so I contacted the franchisor and asked, what's going on and what's the level of support she's getting. And they said, well, she's attending things, and I didn't really know that she was feeling this way. So they hooked her up with a business coach that's within the organization. They made some changes to the organization because they're an East Coast-based company, and a lot of the resources they were offering didn't really work for somebody who's living on the West Coast. So they kind of made some changes in their training and their support, and one thing led to another. And the email I got today was from a clip from their company newsletter. Last month, she was the number 2 person in their entire company with a 1-month sales total of $164,000. So she went from struggling to being a star within 6 months. And I know she's gonna have a bright future and then probably expand, hopefully, into other territories. and certainly with multiple vans in her own territory.
Wow, that's amazing. We're building a team over here at Quantum Franchise Group. We're adding consultants and agents to our team. And, every time I'm having a conversation with a candidate who's considering joining us, I tell them that, there's a lot of stuff that we do. We have a lot of calls, we have a lot of presentations, we do a lot of research, we do a lot of activity, but you can really sum up everything we do in two things. We help people to believe in a future that is better than today, and we help clear fear out of the way from them getting there. That's what you and I do every day.
It is. And I think, the level of support that the Franchise Brokers Association offers up is unsurpassed. And so somebody like you who's approaching the business in a very different way than I am, you're building an empire, you've got a team. And I'm doing it kind of much more as a sole practitioner. I mean, I brought one agent in, but mainly because I had an assistant who was doing so well, I needed to reward her with something to give her a career path. But there's just so many ways to do this business and to serve our clients. And I think the FBA does a terrific job of supporting us, regardless of how we want to run our business. So I think, the things that are consistent are, superior training, superior systems, great mentoring and support, and the highest ethical standards in this industry.
That was a big selling point for me with FBA was the integrity first approach. I came into exploring this industry already being an integrity first person, and that being, a foundation of what I do. But when I found that FBA embraced that same mentality that, above all, we're going to put the best interest of our clients ahead of any other interests, I think that's what sets us apart. And that's how we have so many success stories.
I think so too. And, there's lots of franchise organizations like ours. All of them have successful brokers, but we do approach the business differently. We really do have a client-first mentality here, and I think that kind of sets us apart. I think in lots of ways it makes us better. This is really the only place I'd want to be in this industry.
Yeah, it's good being a part of it with you, brother.